with the first of today's topic, remembering Scott Adams. Rest in peace, Scott Adams. Scott Adams has passed away. And it's really tough for me. I have been a Scott Adams fan for literally 35 years, okay, around 35 years. And this is the anecdote that I want to share with you. When I was 15 years old, I was a teenager, maybe 14, 15 years old. I remember waiting for the Sunday newspapers, cartoons insert. You got a Sunday newspaper, you have some magazines inside the newspaper. You have an insert in newspaper paper, but in color. They had many cartoons, and one of those cartoons was Dilbert in color, and I loved that back then. We also had another newspaper that had a daily Dilbert strip, but we did not buy the newspaper every day. We just bought the newspapers and on Sundays. And I just loved that. 15 years old, and I loved the humor of Dilbert. I say that this is so clever. In fact, I found most cartoons boring. Like the jokes were just stupid. And I found that I think that was my first exposure to actual, intelligent humor. And I thank Scott Adams for that. Just because it had a Dilbert strip. That's how universal Scott Adams was, even as a teenager in Venezuela. Those were translated to Spanish, by the way. I didn't know one word in English at that age. Could appreciate and enjoy his 9 to 5 humor. Could have never imagined back then the sheer influence this man would have not only in my life, but the entire world. This timeline we are in, the timeline that we are living, which is, I have to say, this is a great timeline, is in no small part thanks to him. He is the OG MAGA. He basically he basically explained the phenomenon of Trump back in 2015 and 2016, and that's basically why one of the reasons why we have Donald Trump right now. I'm gonna share with you another of my personal anecdotes about Scott Adams. I thought for the longest time that there was something wrong with me in terms of skills and abilities. I was all over the place, always got frustrated with why can't I focus on just one thing for once. Then I stumbled upon Scott's blog entry on the talent stack. It was literally an enlightening moment for me. I realized this is how my brain functioned, stacking apparently incompatible skills and fusing them in ways that I hadn't seen anywhere before. I was interested in so many things, and I sometimes speak about so many crazy stuff and different stuff because that's how my brain works. And I thought that there was something bad with me. Why can't I just focus on just one thing? Years later, I wrote a blog post myself about my experience developing my talent stack and how grateful I was to Mr. Adams. I always called him Mr. Adams. So many people calls him Scott, but I always call him Mr. Adams out of respect. And got a retweet. He retweeted me. It was a nice day for me. And he followed me from the simultaneous sipper himself. I won bigly that day. I remember that. That was amazing. It was reading Dilbert for 30 years. It was 5 years ago. So reading Dilbert for 30 years. And being followed by Scott Adams was a great surprise. Every single time, every single message I sent him, every single one, I tried not to bother him too much. I guess that he had a ton of messages daily. I think that I messaged him 6 or 7 times in total over 5 years just to ask him a couple of things or congratulate him for stuff. And I mentioned him that this was I when I had my own 9 to 5. I used to work in a 9 to 5. It was in the 2000s, in the early 2000s. I had this Dilbert strip. Oh, Dogbert strip, because it says mainly Dilbert doesn't appear here. This is mostly Dogbert. Printed and stuck to my own 9 to 5 cubicle for 4 years. In fact, I think it was not printed. I think that I just cut that out directly from the newspaper. And I just stuck that to my cubicle because that was so funny. I say, hello, I shut up and reboot. That's all that you have to do. Oh, is this work? Shut up and hang up. My average call time is improving. That's just turn off and turn on your computer. Reset your computer. We used to joke a lot about that. So that's what I had that on my cubicle. And then the rebooting then became reframing my brain with Scott's book. It's like learning how to reframe and understand how my brain works. I mean, I can't be more grateful. I can't be more grateful to Scott Adams. And there's this nice update from the White House itself. The first tweet, not a tweet, a truth. It was on Trump's Truth Social. Sadly, the great influencer Scott Adams has passed away. He was a fantastic guy who liked and respected me when it wasn't fashionable to do so. He bravely fought a long battle against a terrible disease. My condolences go out to his family and all of his many friends and listeners. He will be truly missed. God bless you, Scott. And this picture, I see that some people were saying, "Oh, that picture is AI." Scott Adams was never to the White House. Why would he be sharing an AI picture? And in fact, the White House account reposted this. And just in case, just so we confirm this was tweeted by Scott Adams himself on August 2, 2018. This was an actual visit of Scott Adams to the White House, and he was at the Oval Office in Trump's first term. Today, I had the honor of meeting your favorite president. I already feel sorry for whoever runs against him in 2020, but we already know that those 2020 elections were stolen. Those 2020 elections were stolen, but we had a last message from Scott. I'm gonna read it, because this is just amazing. A final message from Scott Adams. If you're reading this, things did not go well for me. I have a few things to say before I go. My body failed before my brain. I am of sound mind as I write this, January 1st, 2026. If you wonder about any of my choices for my estate or anything else, please know I am free of any coercion or inappropriate influence of any sort, I promise. Next, many of my Christian friends have asked me to find Jesus before I go. I am not a believer, but I have to admit the risk-reward calculation for doing so looks attractive, so here I go. I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I look forward to spending an eternity with Him. The part about me not being a believer should be quickly resolved if I wake up in heaven. I won't need any more convincing than that, and I hope I am still qualified for entry. With your permission, I would like to explain something about my life. It was never too late. It was never too late. For the first part of my life, I was focused on making myself a worthy husband and parent as a way to find meaning. That worked. But marriages don't always last forever, and mine eventually ended in a highly amicable way. I'm grateful for those years and for the people I came to call my family. Once the marriage unwound, I needed a new focus, a new meaning, and so I donated myself to quote unquote the world. Literally speaking the words out loud in my otherwise silent home. From that point on, I looked for ways I could add the most to people's lives one way or another. That marked the start of my evolution from Dilbert cartoonist to an author of what I hope would be useful books. And I have recommended Scott's books time and time again. By then, I believed I had amassed enough life lessons that I could start passing them on. I continued making Dilbert comics, of course. As luck would have it, I'm a good writer. My first book in the quote-unquote useful genre, he was very humble, was How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. That book turned out to be a huge success, often imitated and influencing a wide variety of people, including yours truly. I still hear every day how much that book changed lives. My plan to be useful was working. I followed with my book Win Bigly, that trained an army of citizens how to be more persuasive, which they correctly saw as a minor superpower. That is a major superpower. I would correct Scott on that one. I know that book changed lives because I hear it often. You'll probably never know the impact the book had on the world, but I know, and it pleases me while giving me a sense of meaning that is impossible to describe. My next book, Lose or Think, tried to teach people how to think better, especially if they were displaying their thinking on social media. That one didn't put much of a dent in the universe, but I tried. And finally, this is important, my book Reframe Your Brain taught readers how to program their own thoughts to make their personal and professional lives better. And yes, I have used Reframe Your Brain countless times, and it has gotten me through, well, the bowels of hell, almost literally. I was surprised and delighted at how much positive impact that book is having. I also started podcasting a live show called Coffee with Scott Adams, dedicated to helping people think about the world and their lives in a more productive way. I didn't plan it this way, but it ended up helping lots of lonely people find a community that made them feel less lonely. Again, that had great meaning for me. I had an amazing life. I gave it everything I had. If you got any benefits from my work, I'm asking you to pay it forward as best as you can. That is the legacy I want. Be useful, and please know I loved you all to the end. Scott Adams. I'm going to say that I promise to dedicate my life to paying this forward. The massive help that I got, the massive joy I got from Scott Adams, I promise to pay it forward. The best I can with the platform I have, with the wonderful audience I have. I promise that I'm going to do this way. Yes, let's say that maybe I don't have the experience that had Scott when he was doing his Coffee with Scott Adams. I maybe I would need a couple more decades for that. But that's something that I always wanted to do. Help people think about the world. And I think I can keep on that promise and honor Scott Adams' legacy. Because yeah, we all were and still are simultaneous sippers, as he used to say. Rest in peace, Scott. Thank you for all your comments. Your comments are amazing tonight.